Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we will take a look at some new Just No HOA content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, That Time My Dad Beat the HOA. About 10 years ago, my dad bought a condo in Orlando to rent out to theme park goers, and he used the HOA's recommended rental management company, RMC. After a year, he reviewed his costs, profits and found that he more or less broke even, which surprised him because the condo was only vacant on 2 separate weeks that year. He tried to get in touch with the RMC to see if they could go over his unit's costs, but the owners seemed to dodge Dad's calls. Dad looked to see if the HOA recommended any other management companies and found that the HOA bylaws restricted them from using any others except RMC. That raised a red flag for Dad, so he went and dug up info on RMC and found the HOA board chair, HBC, was a co-owner of the company. Dad emailed HBC pointing out the conflict of interest and insisting the board needed to allow homeowners to use an alternate company. The guy replied back with something like, "Sorry not sorry. If you're unhappy with the HOA leadership, you can attend the meeting on this date, when we will hold a vote for the other 3 board positions." Dad was mad, and while digging through emails to build evidence for small claims court, he stumbled upon an email that had been sent to all the homeowners. However, HBC had forgotten to BCC the mailing list, so all the homeowners' emails were visible. Dad sent a mass email and found lots of similar frustrations, and he walked into the election meeting with an insurmountable voting bloc. They replaced all 3 members, who had all been enabling HBC, but they had to deal with HBC still because the board chair was not up for re-election yet. HBC was upset but still trying to play innocent. Dad then recommended to the 3 new board members that they vote to hire a forensic accountant to go over the HOA's books. HBC said, "Why should we waste HOA fees on that?" And Dad replied with, "So we can put your butt in jail." Update. I had not thought about that in a while, and I ended there because I never actually heard any updates about subsequent meetings. I asked just now, and he said they voted HBC out but never got anywhere with legal repercussions. HBC cowered away and the drama fizzled. The end result was good though, because Dad has been making good money off the rental in the years since. And he was a hero to that community. They wanted to make him the new chair, but he declined since he lives out of state. Next one is titled, Adult Swim. Hi there, had to share the experience with my HOA so far this summer as it has just been an insane mess. So we live in an HOA in Ohio that has around 100 households, only real common grounds being the pool. When we moved in, it seemed like such a nice neighborhood. Everyone we met was incredibly friendly and welcoming. We spoke to a few people before buying the home. We were told how great the area was and everyone was really using the pool as a big selling point. So fast forward to the start of the summer. The board member who handles communication sends out an email about the summer news. In the email it lists the opening dates for the pool as well as, new this year adults only swim the first Friday of each month from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Which this was the first notification of this. No vote ever took place or anything, just something the board decided. We didn't really care as we never have time to go to the pool on a weekday anyway. But my god, the drama that started on Facebook and Nextdoor was Jerry Springer show quality. Someone first posted that their family was devastated and after researching found that it violates FHA law as it's discriminatory against families with children. Then the people supporting Adult Swim pounced in this dude, calling him petty and telling him to move. It went back and forth for a few weeks, with absolutely no response from the board whatsoever. At the end it was implied by someone who knew someone on the board that they would research the legality of it, but no official response or acknowledgement. Next came the first Adult Swim. I'm not sure exactly how it went down, but I believe it was crashed by families with kids who were in protest. A few days after the first of several pool contaminations occurs, i.e. poop in the pool. No one comes forward to say, hey, our kid had an accident in the pool. It was just found by someone arriving that day to swim. Within a month there are 3 more contaminations. Next, the second adult swim night. I saw a video on YouTube of this epic event. It was crashed by at least one family with kids. The video is a guy holding his phone just secretly recording this lady yelling at him. It comes in halfway through the conversation but starts with him asking her name and she gives her full name, then proceeds to berate him for bringing his kids on adult swim night and tells him she has lived in the neighborhood for 12 years and she has more domain than he does. So he tells her that it's illegal, and she starts in on him like he's an idiot yelling what's illegal. My swim club has entire days that are for adults only. He points out that that's a private club and this is a community. Her brain seems to break and she doesn't comprehend. Next she starts yelling at him that he's ducking a hole in front of his kids, and proceeds to tell him that she is worth $2 billion. May have said million but sounded more like billion dollars and demanded to know what he was worth. Video cuts off after someone else tells her to calm down. Video was just absolutely batshit crazy. So this was a Sunday, which shows how extremely piss poor the planning was on the whole adult swim that they had to change it from first Friday to the second Sunday of July for some reason. The very next day, Monday, another contamination. This makes number 5. Then after it is cleaned, another person goes to the pool and guess what? Contamination number 6. The HOA then blasts out an email saying the pool is closed until further notice as they take steps to prevent this. There has been no further communication from the board. However, it appears cameras have been added to the pool area. I have to imagine people are not all right with that. And the board is ignoring emails from members of the community. If you don't personally know them, they aren't responding, it appears. Nextdoor and Facebook are once again full of drama, and people calling for Adult Swim to end. I think it's pretty obvious that Adult Swim has caused someone to vandalize the pool with poop. My money is on the lady from the YouTube video, as it really doesn't affect some hag with no kids if the pool closes. However, it's currently around 100 degrees and no one in the neighborhood has access to the pool that we pay for. I just found the whole situation to be a train wreck but somewhat entertaining one and just had to share somewhere. Next one is titled, "Got fined for fixing my car." So, I'm a 20-some-year-old dude with a 20-some-year-old dude car. Meaning, it's old and breaks down. Now, personally, I decided taking the car to a shop for things I could easily do was definitely out of the question, especially when money is so tight. So, I'm out here in the middle of Texas summer fixing my coolant pump, no mess or fluids running down the street mind you, when some overfed, pasty-skinned, suburban queen wannabe pulls up in her very expensive truck telling me that I can't work on my car in the street and have to do it in the garage. Fun fact. All the houses on my road live on an extremely steep slope, making it pretty much impossible to push an ancient relic into the garage at the top. So, I tell her that there's no way my car is getting into that garage, but we all know how power trippy these HOA moms are. She begins yelling all kinds of things at me. It was 50%, pay a shop to fix your car, and 50%, I'm just gonna free associate about my marriage problems to a stranger. I'm hot, I'm already pissed my car is broken, so I tell her to either pay for my car to be fixed or to go duck off. Well, one dangerous speed off through a residential neighborhood she's supposed to be keeping, nice. Later, I find myself with a $200 fine and my parents have been harassed by these a-holes ever since. Dude, fuck HOAs. Next one is titled, HOA Survivor, My 2 cents. I've owned a unit in an HOA for 7 years, and about the first 4 years were a complete nightmare. No fiscal oversight, constant assessments, no maintenance, pool closed in the summer because of neglected repairs, abusive letters to residents, refused to use email to communicate, wasteful contractors, frivolous lawsuits against a sister community resulting in exorbitant legal fees, you name it. The board literally had to have police attend one of the open board meetings because they knew resident backlash would be so severe, and infuriatingly had the community attorney answer any questions from residents rather than have the board respond to us themselves. I was pulling my hair out and couldn't wait for the market to stabilize so I could sell my unit and get the duck off. Finally, after the third assessment in a single year, after years of increasing common charges, you know what I did instead? I ran for the board. I was elected. Fortunately, 2 other reform-minded candidates were elected at the same time. Within 2 months of our questioning, researching, attending weekly, yes, weekly, from 7 to 10 p.m., meetings, 2 of the most miserable miscreants resigned because it was obvious they wouldn't have their way anymore. And while they could intimidate the existing board members, we weren't having it. We replaced them with 2 more like-minded appointees and for the most part had a new board. I stayed on for 2+ years until I purchased a home many towns away and kept that unit as a rental property. However, the community has 10 times the amount, not an exaggeration, in reserves than in the worst of the dark time years. The place looks impeccable. No small feat considering it's 45 years old. Common charges haven't been raised since the year our new board was elected, and not a single assessment since then either. Yes, it's easy to vent to other like-minded people. But if you want change, take it into your own hands. Run for the board. Bonus points if you can get a group of people to run with you, depending on how many seats are open during each election. I didn't think I had any time to deal with what was involved and honestly it was really hard some weeks to show up considering I had a full-time job an hour away, plus an at-home side job where every minute spent at a board meeting was time spent not making side money. I was also 26 at the time with boyfriend, friends, work engagements, and regular responsibilities of being a functioning adult. It sucked, but I looked at it like this was one of the biggest investments I was ever going to make in my life, and for my own sanity I needed to secure the viability of my own home in this community. And it did pay off, because now I can collect my rent check every month from many towns over and not cringe every time I get a letter from the HOA in the mail. As much as it was a thankless, unpaid, time-consuming, pulling my hair out in frustration PITA, I could honestly say that if this place started to go down the crapper again, I don't see how I could sit by and not run for the board again. There's satisfaction that comes with taking matters into your own hands. I truly suggested everyone with a nightmare HOA story at least consider it. The biggest duck you is when these people who made your life miserable for years realize you have a seat at the table just like they do, and this time they can't shut you down with a snarky letter. Next one is titled, Parking Rules Are Changing. Let's have a 2-hour meeting. I rent a room from a friend who just bought a house. We look similar enough and I asked him if I could go with him to the Parking Rules Update meeting. He said he didn't want to go but I could go in his place. The meeting starts out boring enough. Few homeowners and their spouses and the 7-ish people that make up the board. We begin opening up the discussion and one of the board members starts asking the tough questions, as he put it. The rules state that if a vehicle is a commercial vehicle it cannot be parked anywhere on the property other than a private garage. Now this is where the fun begins. He is trying to figure out how the board can decide if a vehicle is a commercial or private vehicle, specifically trucks. All trucks in CA are deemed to be commercial and that is noted by the format of the license plate. This guy drags on the meeting for 20 minutes. I am so bored by this conversation because I came to ask about the reserved spots and the fact that there is 20 total in the complex but they have 28 permits for cars that are allowed to park in the reserved spots, making it impossible to park your car in the parking area without getting a violation and a tow on the 4th offense. I raise my hand and ask the board if they could come back to this part of the discussion at a later time because we are not following the predetermined timeline. I basically get told, son, this meeting is important and your points will have to wait. I am in my late 20s and this guy is in his late 60s. Frustrated, I sit back down and begin thinking for a solution to the problem he is having so we can move on. I come up with an idea. Again I raise my hand and get a moment to speak. I suggest the following. When determining if a vehicle is a private or commercial vehicle you should just look at the registration. If it is registered to a person, it's private. If it is registered to a business, it's commercial. This solution bypasses needing to rely on the plate of the vehicle and goes straight to the registration card, which they need and have on file when you move into the house. Another guy at the table in his early 40s, who has been noticeably trying to move the conversation forward but keeps getting stalled by the older gentleman, sees where I am going with that and suggests that it is a very reasonable approach to the problem and decides that my suggestion will be acceptable for the moment. This old guy keeps talking about how we won't know throughout the rest of the meeting while the adults have meaningful conversation and planning. We conclude the meeting and I get the biggest "duck you" glare from old dude. I smile and wish him a good night. That is the story of my first ever HOA meeting. I haven't been able to attend any others because they hold them at 4 p.m. on the third Thursday of the month now and everyone is at work so they can continue playing Neighborhood Simulator 2017. I am planning on starting work really early on these Thursdays in the future so I can make it to these meetings so they don't duck up the parking situation more than it already is. Last one is titled, Irresponsible HOA. Our HOA is pursuing a lawsuit against the declarant of our building. The building is an old industrial warehouse, mill that was converted in loft condominiums. Evidently, the municipality inspected the entire building and overlooked several violations, huge structural problems with one facade and the roof. Certificates of occupancy were issued for each individual unit, but not the entire building. Somehow, construction proceeded. Years later our HOA decided to sue the declarant for failing to remedy these structural issues, seeking funding for repairs. The problem is this. Condo fees have increased by 200% in 5 years, as our HOA continues to levy assessments and fee increases to pay escalating legal costs. We have no transparency or visibility into the status of the case. We are all expected to continue coughing up money to fund an endless lawsuit with no guarantee of success. Potential buyers, investors have been turned away by the excessive condo fees. We have this feedback in writing from our realtor. Additionally, no lender will fund a mortgage for any unit within our building due to the litigation. Homeowners are trapped here, we cannot sell, and the constant fee increases without commensurate added value erodes our competitive advantage. Neighboring communities charge 1/2 our condo fee rate and offer twice the amenities: pool, landscaping, gym, tennis courts, etc. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, locked away due to the decisions of our HOA. I'll never buy another place in a HOA for as long as I live. Thanks for listening.